Righty then, Chapter 8, Self-Learning. Let's move on here. Learning comes naturally. The main reason people learn is to support their curiosity. Learning comes naturally once you have curiosity. Also, it's a learning for a career or a hobby or something that you're actually interested in doing, right? But it starts with the curiosity. Self-learning takes advantage of the curiosity and makes you want to research something more since it actually drives you. These are the things that you want to do for whatever reason. Could be that pretty girl down the street that's doing the same thing, or you're trying to impress somebody, or you're trying to do this for your mom and dad because they're living vicariously through you, right? But the curiosity that gives you some sort of drive. Now, I would say to go away from those two examples that I gave you and find out what you and your soul wants you to do. Go look at the book, Habituating Happiness. Learning becomes an adventure where you discover new things every time you learn. Self-learning can be useful for those who cannot enroll in a formal class or travel to a different destination to get educated in a particular subject or spend all that time just to learn a particular thing, to get a certification from Harvard or Yale or UCLA or whatever it is you want to go, or Oxford. Now, it is neither time constrained nor limited in terms of the location. All you need is to have access to a computer, to have a good internet connection, and the willingness to learn. There are several advantages with that in mind when it comes to self-learning. One, develops their problem-solving skills. Through self-learning, you get the ability to identify problems and get effective solutions by yourself. You're not depending on anyone else to help you or do it for you. Challenges and obstacles do not kill your drive to do things. Instead, they motivate you to learn new things at your pace. You find yourself actively looking for solutions, and this will boost your performance as a professional. You're going to know how to do the research on your own. You're going to be able to function on your own. You're going to be able to tell your boss exactly how much time it's going to take you to do this. You'll have an easier time adapting to any changes that might have surprised you initially. There is less stress. Self-learning emphasizes more on the learning process and not on the learning processes. You don't have to worry about taking that test. You don't have to worry about what they're going to talk about in class or whether you read the chapter or not. It goes back to your curiosity. It goes back to your desires. It goes back to what you want to learn rather than what you have to learn for this job and you don't really want to do it. It's not my cup of tea. Since everything occurs at your pace, you'll find that there will be no pressure to learn the content required within a limited time to get a high passing grade. You decide how, you decide when, you decide where you're going to learn, which means you don't have to get stressed out because you're late to class or you missed the class altogether or you didn't read the chapter the night before because you were doing something else, right? It's just unlike direct learning, what you learn better will become internalized. So what you do learn, you will learn better, and it'll be actually internalized, and you'll get it, right? It will click for you, rather than trying to read out of some book. Because if you read it out of a book, you don't understand, you can't not comprehend. You go online, you start doing the research, and start figuring out for yourself, so you can find a source that tells you how to absorb it the best way that works for you. So now number 3 is like one gains other skills. Through self-learning, you get to learn other important skills like time management, skills like self-assessment. Did I learn this? How well did I learn it? right? These are critically important because when you go to a university or something like that, you have somebody else tell you how you're doing based on the other people that are in the same class throughout history or in the same class you're in currently. This can be good for some people, but it's definitely bad for most people because they do not know how a self-assessment works. They do not hold themselves accountable, right? Because that's what the teacher is for, to hold them accountable. So when they step into the real world workforce, they don't know how to hold themselves accountable. They said, well, my teacher said that I was good, so I should be good, right? Not necessarily. You do a self-assessment to find out where you're at. You change the way that you're doing things, and you can move forward as part of critical thinking. Am I gaining the results that I need to have at this time by this time frame? Whereas the people in school just go with the flow and do their thing, and now they have a presentment, and it's wrong. You can do a self-assessment to find out where you're at and where the project is, and you can re-look at the project in the self-assessment and find out if it's where you think it needs to go. And then you can tweak it throughout the process rather than come up with a product at the end going, well, that shit didn't work, right? Those who undertake self-learning often have to develop certain skills to improve their learning experience. They're also known to be committed to their task and seeing things through even if they encounter the challenges. Because a teacher ain't there in real life, is he? You run into a problem, you better figure it out. That's what people are getting paid for. That's what you're getting paid for. Figure it out. Maybe you have a mentor that could possibly help you, but if it's your project, it's your project. Now, 4, better and more meaningful learning experience. So when we're talking about self-learning, it comes from a person's desire to gain new knowledge for themselves. The need to find information and use it in a certain way makes one a better researcher. You get to have a clear goal and a purpose of learning and focusing on the task at hand. This makes learning meaningful since the research is on something you consider valuable and not because someone or some system has dictated it for you. So if you're going to college to learn English, why are you learning math? Well, because I had to learn it, and this is what you're going to do. Well, why, if you're going to college for English, do you have to take an art class? Well, that helps with the critical thinking. So it does go together. You just cannot see it from the perspective at the time. It's like, well, shit, I don't want to make paper mache. I want to write stories. But it goes back to the creative process. The math goes with the English because everything is math at the higher levels. We won't talk about quantum stuff here. Now, 5, you control your mode of learning. The mode of learning is yours to choose when you opt to become self-taught. There are different modes of learning available, and these are not limited to tutorials, right? They're not limited to webinars, right? You get to choose the method you want that suits you the best. You do not have to stick to one mode just because it suits you the best. You can always do some more research and have a secondary and tertiary source. So make sure that you're doing your self-learning with your critical thinking. It's going to develop your skills so that you can move forward properly in your life with a meaning that you can define for anybody who's asking.